Good evening po sa inyong lahat. Welcome sa ating 38th Kapihang OH. This is a monthly session where we tackle the latest updates in the field of occupational safety and health. We hope that everyone is safe and healthy. Kami po dito sa Philippine College of Occupational Medicine, Quezon City Chapter ay nagagalak na nabigyan niyo kami muli ng inyong oras para makinig at matuto sa discussions natin ngayong gabi. Welcome back to our Kapihang OH at welcome sa mga first time po na naka-join. No? So as of this moment, we have almost 200 participants already and still counting. Ako po ang inyong moderator, Dr. Jason Jan Cabigon, a member of the board of the PCOM QC chapter. Nangangati na rin ba ang mga paa nyo para bumiyahe? Ngayong gabi, we invited 4, yes, you heard it right, 4 very relevant agencies. Department of Transportation, Department of Tourism, Department of the Interior and Local Government, and the DOH Bureau of Quarantine. Biyahe na! A forum on travel regulations during COVID-19 pandemic. Pero bago po ang lahat, meron lamang tayong konting paalala. Una, pakimute po ang ating mga microphones para wala tayong naririnig na ibang sounds kundi yung boses lang ng ating speaker. Pangalawa, pansamantalang isara ang ating mga phone and computer cameras para iwas sa pagbagal ng ating virtual kapihan during the acting webinar session. Kung meron pong katanungan, maaari itong i-type sa chat box at later ay babasahin natin ito para masagot ng ating speakers for tonight. Sa mga magre-request po ng copy ng e-certificate ng session, ito ay maibabahagi basta matapos ang 90% ng kapihan, ito ay ipadadala sa inyong mga email. Kung meron technical concerns, maaari lamang na pakitype sa chat box. So yun po ang ating mga house rules. Without further ado, let us officially start our Kapihang OH. To welcome us all sa ating 38th Kapihang OH, ladies and gentlemen, our PCOM Quezon City Chapter President, Dr. Catherine Artalis Carriaga.
Maraming salamat, Dr. Cabigon. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat na aming tagapanood at tagapagsubaybay mula sa iba't ibang panig ng Pilipinas at sa labas ng bansa. Sa aming kapamilya sa Philippine College of Occupational Medicine, mga kapuso sa Occupational Safety and Health at kapatid sa propesyon ng kalusugan. Isang mainit na pagtanggap mula po sa amin na bumubuo ng PCOM Quezon City Chapter. Sa patuloy na resbakuna ng gobyerno at iba pang pribadong sektor, patuloy na bumababa ang kaso araw-araw ng COVID-19 sa bansa. Kamakailan nga lang, nagsimula na din ang pagbabakuna sa mga bata edad 5 pataas. Dahilan dito, nagluwag na din ang level na restriksyon sa iba't ibang lalawigan. Bagamat sa unang pagpasok sa taong 2022, talagang namayagpag ang Omicron variant sa bansa. Patunay nga lang na ang bakuna ay naging malaki ang naiambag sa pagbaba ng kaso na tinamaan ng COVID-19 o pagkakaroon ng malubhang karamdaman dahilan sa sakit na ito. Kaya naman ang mga Pilipino, matagal nang nasikig ang kalayaan sa paglalakbay ay sabik na muling libutin at damhin ang ganda ng iba't ibang lugar, mapa Pilipinas man o ibang bansa. Kaya po ngayong gabi sa ating virtual na pagtitipon-tipon, kami ay lubos na nalulugod dahil kasama po natin ang 4 na eksperto sa larangan na ito sa ating ika-38 kapihan para talakayin ang Byahe na, a forum on travel regulations during COVID-19 pandemic. Mula sa inyong lingkod, isang masigabong pagbati at pasasalamat sa inyong lahat, lalo na sa aming masisigasig at masisikap na opisyal at Board of Directors ng PCOM Quezon City Chapter sa pagkamitang karangalan ngayong taon sa aming nagdaan na annual PCOM Convention bilang Best Chapter in CME or Dr. Antonio o Gisbert Award. Naway pagpalain po tayo ng poong may kapal upang patuloy po kaming makapagbigay ng kaalaman, pag-asa at liwanag, dala ng karimlanang kasalukuyan. Muli, maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat at magandang gabi po.
Thank you, Dr. Carriaga. And congratulations again to PCOM QC for accepting the award as Best Chapter in CME. Actually, hindi po namin magagawa yan kung wala po yung inyong constant support as mga participants po namin. So congratulations po sa ating lahat. To our dearest colleagues and beloved guests from all sectors of the workforce, the chapter is very honored to introduce our respected speakers for tonight. Our first speaker is the current Secretary of the Department of Tourism after being appointed by President Rodrigo Duterte in 2018. She attended the University of the Philippines and pursued an undergraduate and a master's degree in economics. She was a former lecturer at the UP School of Economics. She also served as an economic consultant at the Housing and Urban Development Coordination Council, the Presidential Management Staff, and was Deputy Cabinet Secretary at the Office of the President in 2006. She was appointed as Undersecretary at the Department of Agriculture from 2007 to 2018, where she was designated to handle special concerns, administration and finance, and agribusiness and marketing. She assumed office as the Secretary of the Department of Tourism on May 14, 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, she is Secretary Bernadette Romulo-Puyat. To represent her during the open forum, let me introduce OIC Undersecretary Christopher V. Morales. He is designated as the OIC Undersecretary for Tourism Regulation, Coordination, and Resource Generation, or TRCRG. Concurrent with this designation, he has also been leading the National Farm Tourism Program of the Department of Tourism. As the OIC for TRCRG, USec Morales oversees the tourism operations and activities of the Office of Tourism Standards and Regulation, Office of the Industry and Manpower Development, and the regional offices of the DOT. He rose from the ranks and has over 20 years of government service, which started at the Department of Agriculture, where he became the OIC Director for Agribusiness and Marketing, and overall coordinator of DA's National Organic Agriculture Program. He holds a master's degree in development studies from Erasmus University, Rotterdam, the Netherlands, and a bachelor's degree in agricultural engineering, major in land and water resources from the University of the Philippines at Los Baños. He is also career executive service eligible and has completed the leadership and management program of the CES board. Again, he is USec Christopher V. Morales. Our second speaker is an auxiliary commodore of the Philippine Coast Guard, PCG Auxiliary Executive Squadron, and the Deputy Director of the Bureau of Quarantine. As Deputy Director, he supports the formulation of policies relative to the implementation and promotion of programs to support quarantine initiatives, and he leads the planning of programs and activities related to the various programs and the resources required for their effective and efficient execution. He previously served as a board member of the formal sector in the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation, Medical Officer 3 in San Lazaro Hospital, and medical consultant in various hospitals. Ladies and gentlemen, He is Deputy Director Roberto Manese Salvador Jr. Our third speaker for tonight is the Chief of the Policy Compliance Monitoring Division of the Bureau of the Local Government Supervision, Department of the Interior, and Local Government. She finished her Bachelor of Arts in Journalism at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and continued her law school at the Northwestern University, Lawag City. Prior to her employment at the DILG, she served her hometown, Claveria, Cagayan, as the Sangguniang Kabataan Municipal Federation President and ex-officio member of the Sangguniang Bayan. As Chief of the Policy Compliance Monitoring, her unit handles various DILG programs in monitoring and exacting compliance of local government units nationwide, specifically on peace and order and public safety programs, anti-drug abuse programs, financial accountability through the full disclosure policy, and administrative matters, particular on local government officials' request for foreign travel authority, augmentation of confidential fund, appointment of LG officials caused by permanent vacancy, among others, and other special tasks and interagency commitments. Our third speaker again, Atty. Maria Rhodora Ramos-Flores. And for our final speaker, he is a PhD candidate in urban planning at the School of Architecture and Planning of the University of Auckland. He is a licensed environmental planner and earned his bachelor's degree in public administration as magna cum laude and master's degree in urban and regional planning from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. He is currently connected with the Department of Transportation as the Program Manager of the PUV Modernization Program. He is also currently a Senior Lecturer at the School of Urban and Regional Planning in UP Diliman and a Faculty of Management and Development Studies in UP Open University. He is also one of the recipients of the inaugural Laurent Dobie Scholarship Program of the International Association of Public Transport and a member of the University of Auckland's Future Cities Research Hub. Our last speaker for tonight, Mr. Joemier Pontawe. I am sure you are all in awe of the gravity of credentials of our honorable speakers that we have tonight. And to start the discussion, let us listen to Secretary Bernadette Romulo-Puyat.
This is Bernadette Romulo-Puyat of the Department of Tourism. Thank you to the Philippine College of Occupational Medicine for inviting us to your 38th Kapihang OH. We are delighted that your organization has chosen to tackle the subject of travel and regulations at this forum. This is particularly relevant now that we are greatly ramping up our efforts to revive the country's tourism industry. As you know, the country opened up its international borders last Feb 10 to visa-free countries after being closed for nearly 2 years. This is a decision that was made in consultation with and upon the recommendation of our IATF health experts, as the safety of everyone remains our priority. In February this year, 2 UN agencies, namely the United Nations World Tourism Organization and the World Health Organization, called for the lifting of travel bans, stating that they do not provide added value and continue to contribute to economic and social stress. Aligning with this emerging worldview, the DOT's proposals to the IATF, the Interagency Task Force on the Management of Emerging Infectious Disease, seek to achieve a balance between the recovery of the tourism sector and the restoration of jobs without compromising the health and safety of our tourism stakeholders, workers, and visitors. Our confidence to reopen was also brought about by a number of factors, such as the successful vaccination campaign, the implementation of stringent health and safety guidelines at our destinations, and our strict accreditation of all tourism-related facilities. In terms of protecting the health and safety of our tourism workers in the country, we have been able to fully vaccinate 96.27% of our target, with 26.41% having already gotten their booster shots. Furthermore, select destinations have already achieved a 100% vaccination rate among tourism workers, including Baguio City, Aurora, Busuanga, Coron, El Nido, Puerto Princesa, San Vicente, Boracay, Mandaue City, and Camiguin. Throughout the pandemic, we have also prioritized the accreditation of tourism establishments to ensure that they meet global standards in terms of health and safety. For instance, we have been granted by the World Travel and Tourism Council the authority to use the WTTC Safe Travel Stamp. This stamp allows travelers and other travel and tourism stakeholders to recognize destination authorities and companies around the world that have implemented health and hygiene protocols that are aligned with WTTC's Global Safe Travels Protocol, meaning our standards are world standards. As a user of this international recognized standard, the DOT assumes the role of a safe travels ambassador to its stakeholders, advocating the implementation and full compliance of protocols in tourism enterprises. To date, 249 accommodation establishments across the country and 3 destinations have been issued a WTTC Safe Travel Stamp, namely Baguio City, Boracay Island, and Ilocos Norte. In addition, we have our own Safety Seal certification program, which was created to ensure compliance with minimum public health standards. The Philippines may have eased its travel restrictions, including the removal of mandatory quarantine for arriving passengers, but make no mistake, we are still vigilant when it comes to the public's well-being. This is why we still require that foreign visitors be fully vaccinated, and we still require proof of a negative RT-PCR 48 hours before departure or a negative antigen lab-based test 24 hours before departure. In addition, both foreign and local travelers must adhere to the requirements of the respective LGUs of the destinations they wish to visit. The varying restrictions in different destinations is something that we are working together with the LGUs in order to arrive at a set of uniform travel requirements in the new normal, of course, without compromising health and safety. The strict health and safety protocols that we require hotels, transport services, and other tourism-related operations to follow are there for a reason: to keep guests safe and allow them to enjoy our destinations without worry. By being a responsible traveler, your journeys can be safe and fun. Nevertheless, as I mentioned earlier, the mutating nature of COVID-19 means that national agencies like the Department of Tourism should always be prepared for potential issues that may arise. To ensure sustainability of the tourism industry in relation to the safe and health of our workers and clients, we continue our coordination with the LGUs and other NGAs to strengthen the risk management capacity of destinations. Though we were classified as a non-essential industry at the height of the pandemic, tourism contributions to the national economy should not be underestimated. Before the outbreak, the tourism industry contributed 12.8% to the national gross domestic product and provided gainful employment to 5.7 million Filipinos. From February 10 to March 20, 180,320 foreign tourists have visited the Philippines, and we are hopeful this number will increase in the coming days. Starting April 1, we will be welcoming fully vaccinated tourists from all countries. After 2 difficult years of being in the shadow of the pandemic, it's time to biyahe na and bring the fun back to tourism. Thank you once again to the Philippine College of Occupational Medicine for inviting us to take part in this very timely and enlightening forum. Maraming salamat po. Please stay safe. Please continue following minimum health and safety protocols. Please wear your mask. And mabuhay po kayong lahat.
Thank you very much, Secretary Romulo-Puyat. We are requesting everyone to type your questions in the chat box, but let us all wait for all the speakers to finish before we open the floor for Q&A. At this point, let us all welcome Deputy Director Roberto Manese Salvador Jr.
Good evening. Hello sir, good evening. Nakikita na sir yung slide ko.
Yes sir, malinaw po.
Yes sir, good evening to all participants. Thank you po sa PCOM chapter for inviting the BOQ to share some inputs about the recent IATF protocols sa international travels natin. So I will also present the BOQ COVID pandemic response since the start of this pandemic in 2020. So the Bureau of Quarantine, under the Department of Health, with the category of first class line bureau, shall have a nationwide scope of function and international commitment in accord with the international health regulation of the World Health Organization. The Bureau is authorized to promulgate rules and regulation, apprehension, detention, or surveillance as necessary to prevent the introduction, transmission, of spread of public health emergencies of international concern from foreign countries into the Philippines. From the start of this pandemic on March 2020, the BOQ is the primary government agency who responded to the fight of the government against the COVID-19 pandemic. Numerous tasks and responsibilities was given to BOQ by the government and IATF, and we were able to fulfill all the tasks in spite of limitation like resources and manpower. BOQ was able to respond, adapt, and foresee the needs of our clients, which are the international travelers in this time of pandemic. So these are some of the action pictures kay yung ginawa ng BOQ during the time of pandemic. So in the airports, we are the first contact of our international travelers. Okay, and because of the problems sa referral sa mga TTMF, we opted to get our own TTMF. So Philippine Arena was given to us. So dito namin dinadala yung mga OFW and ROF, mga returning overseas Filipino, na nagpa-positive during that time. And during that time, napakataas po ng positivity rate natin. Imagine ang Bureau of Quarantine kumukuha ng almost 100 to 200 OFW, ROF positive per day. Tina-transfer namin sa different TTMF. So ito po isa sa mga send-off natin. So Philippine Arena Quarantine Facility was awarded as the best and ideal quarantine facility during the start of this pandemic. And also Fort Magsaysay, capacity is 500 to 1,000. So hindi lang po OFW and ROF ang na-infect ng COVID, even our frontliners, military AFP, kay PCG. So hindi lang po airport ang role ng BOQ, even our seaports po. So lahat po ng international vessel, na dumarating dito, especially during the time of pandemic, kailangan i-clear natin bago sila mag-proceed sa activity. So Pilipinas lang po ang nag-open ng crew change. Kaya during the time of pandemic po, almost all of the countries po nagsara. So Pilipinas lang po ang nag-open. Kaya kung natatandaan nyo po, maraming cruise ship na nagpunta dito sa Pilipinas for crew change. So extraction of COVID-19, death on board, may mga cases po tayo dyan na pagdating dito, may mga cases sila ng COVID and even deaths on board. So tayo rin po ang una nag-respond sa mga cases ng variant, both airport and seaport. BOQ po ang pinakaunang exposed kay sa COVID-19. And we also have a vaccination rollout sa mga government agencies. So tumulong din po tayo para tumaas ang vaccination rate natin, especially in government agencies operating in the airports. During the time of pandemic po, BOQ started the online booking system. It has long been in the pipeline even prior to the onset of COVID-19. With the implementation of the BOQ online system, the service of BOQ have become more efficient, more accessible, and more convenient to its client. So usual BOQ services sa mga international travelers natin are vaccination against yellow fever, polio vaccine, meningococcemia, and the issuance of the International Certificate of Vaccination or Prophylaxis o yung tinatawag nating yellow card. So as early as April of 2021, so BOQ received many calls from international travelers, especially OFW, that countries of destination are asking for proof of vaccination. And DOH called a meeting to discuss the immediate need of our OFW. So during this time, wala pa po yung vaccert.ph. So BOQ started to publish the ICVP, or commonly known as yellow card, as proof of vaccination for COVID-19 in July 2, 2021. As the sole mandated agency to issue the International Certificate of Vaccination and Prophylaxis, BOQ started to issue the ICVP for COVID last July 15, 2021 to respond to the need of the OFW and international travelers. So ang ICVP or yellow card po ng BOQ, WHO is one of the first comply with the WHO and DDC requirements sa digital vaccination ng COVID-19. So in-upgrade po natin ang yellow card natin. Kung dati po is simple paper lang with security features, so now po meron na tayong digital features that the QR code can be verified on the country of destination. Kaya included na rin po ang booster dose natin. So we started to open satellite stations sa mga malls para po mas marami po ang makater natin na kay mga clients needing ICV. So lagi nga po natin sinasabi na ang ICVP po, ang yellow card is not mandatory. You can use vaccert.ph, government sponsored vaccination certificate for COVID, or yellow card, depending on the country of destination. So the recent IATF protocols for arriving passengers, so IATF resolution number 164-A, so imagine po since March po 2020, nag-start tayo sa IATF resolution number 1. So every change ng IATF resolution, ang pinakauna pong affected na agency and kailangan mag-respond is the BOQ. So as discussed by Secretary Puyat, naging maluwag na po tayo sa protocols natin sa international travelers natin. For Filipinos, ang requirements lang po natin is negative RT-PCR test 48 hours prior to departure or negative laboratory-based antigen test. And they should be fully vaccinated and they should present an acceptable proof of vaccination. Ano po ba yung mga acceptable proof of vaccination natin? Number 1 is the VaxCert, the WHO ICVP or the yellow card, or any national or state issued COVID certificate that already recognized the VaxCert.ph. So below 12-year-old who are not vaccinated, follow parents' protocol. And 12 to 17 years old, if they are still not vaccinated, we follow the classification based on the vaccine status. For foreign nationals, starting April 1, as mentioned by Secretary Puyat, we will accept a foreign national, same requirements, RT-PCR test, negative or antigen-based negative, fully vaccinated, and they should have travel insurance with a coverage of $35,000 US dollars. And for those who are fully vaccinated with positive RT-PCR test or fully recovered with positive RT-PCR test, kay RT-PCR test not earlier than 10 days but not more than 30 days, and they should present medical certificate that they are no longer contagious. Okay, and they isolated for 10 days. So protocol for this: fully recovered if they are vaccinated, home quarantine, and if they are unvaccinated, mandatory hotel quarantine test on the 5th day. So ito po yung protocols natin if you will be categorized as fully vaccinated and unvaccinated. So ito po yung mga updated list of accepted foreign COVID-19 vaccination certificate. Kay presently, 73 countries na po ang if they present yellow card, WHO yellow card. So ang WHO yellow card po is accepted by 196 countries po. So dalawa lang po ang hindi gumagamit ng yellow card. So one of the important requirement before departing the country of origin is for the international traveler, both Filipinos and foreigners, to comply with the One Health Pass. So ang One Health Pass po was initiated by the Bureau of Quarantine with the help of the One-Stop Shop. So since the start of pandemic po, ang One-Stop Shop po is composed of the Department of Tourism, the Bureau of Quarantine, OWA, PCG, and MIA. And MIA. Okay, so ito po yung nagtulong-tulong para po ma-implement ng maayos ang mga ATF protocol binabakay ng government. So the purpose of the One Health Pass is to streamline, decrease the inconvenience of inbound travelers by providing a single entry of information. So the online registration is required to be completed at the point of origin of the departure airport and before boarding. So this is the one-stop shop. So this is easy. This is very easy and user-friendly. So kailangan po talagang mag-register dito, and it is proven that if you will comply with the One Health Pass, the process will just take you 5 to 10 minutes. Kaya so this is one of the articles that's for One Health Pass. One Health Pass is a big success. It was easy to register. Finally, just one pass is needed. We no longer have to fill up several forms asking the same question. So good comments for One Health Pass. So importante lang po na ipaalam natin sa mga kababayan natin o kamag-anak nating uuwi sa Pilipinas, ang i-register lang is the official website of the One Health Pass. Kasi marami pong mga scammers na gumagaya ng One Health Pass and nakakasingil sila. So hindi po connected in any way ang One Health Pass or BOQ or any other agency sa mga fake website. So this is my last slide. Thank you very much, sir.
Maraming salamat po, Director Salvador, and congratulations po sa big success ng inyong One Health Pass. Ladies and gentlemen, let us now welcome our third speaker for tonight, Attorney Maria Rhodora Ramos-Flores.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes po, Attorney.
Okay. Sige. So I will present na ha. I'll share ko lang. Ayan. Can you see my screen?
Yes po, malinaw po.
Okay, sige. Magandang gabi po sa ating lahat. So, this time naman, masimulan na yung ating talakayan tungkol dito sa mga regulations, travel regulations. Kanina, with the help of our friend from BOQ, na-discuss niya yung tungkol naman sa ating mga international travelers. No? So, the need for the registration of One Health Pass. And then, syempre, yung anong mga kailangan na dalhin nila before they travel. So, this time naman po is more on interzonal and intrazonal movement dito naman sa ating bansa. So, matayaw. Ayan. It doesn't work. Wait lang po ha. There. Okay. So, balikan lang po natin yung mga naganap nung nagsimula ang COVID-19 pandemic. If you recall, covering the period of March to April 2020, biglang nagulantang tayong lahat. Because during this period, the national government has carefully placed necessary guidelines for the management of the COVID-19 situation. So at that time, yung mga issuances natin lahat ay nanggagaling sa national government agencies. Ang ating mga local government units ay nag-aantay ng mga protocols or guidelines coming from national government agencies. And then until nakapag-issue po tayo, ang DILG, nakapag-issue po ng memorandum circular noong March 21, 2020. Ito yung support natin doon sa emission ng ating IATF at that time para sa ating mga frontline workers in the transportation and cargo businesses. Kasi although naka-lockdown po tayo during that time, lahat hindi tayo pwedeng lumabas, but we emphasize na kailangan po unrestricted yung movement ng ating mga cargos, especially for even food and non-food, para hindi magkaroon ng delay. Kasi at that time, kung naaalala po ninyo, parang nagkakaubusan ng stock at may hoarding na nagaganap dito sa Metro Manila, including Luzon. So, ang BILG issued several memoranda. So, itong Memorandum Circular 2020-062, and then also on April 1, 2020, nag-issue ulit tayo ng memorandum sa ating mga local government units to implement the President's Directive to ensure the unhampered movement of cargos for food and essential goods. We also issued advisory para sa unrestricted movement naman ng ating mga frontline workers in the transportation or cargo businesses during the ECQ on April 7, 2020. So, in-advise po natin ang ating mga local government units na i-allow natin na makapag-travel ang ating mga workers considered vital in the unrestricted movement of cargo. So, during this period, tayo po na mga hindi kasama dito sa mga frontline workers, tayo po ay nakulong. Sabi na po ni DOT Secretary kanina, no, na for almost 2 years, naka-lockdown po tayo. We also issued a BILG Memorandum Circular reiterating IATF Omnibus Guidelines for the implementation of community quarantine in the Philippines. Kasi po, ang una po nating naging basehan o naging ginamit ng pamahalaan ay ang ECQ, GCQ, MECQ, tama po ba? So, during this period, ang ating department naman ay nag-issue din ng mga memorandum circular at ini-emphasize natin or inuulit natin itong mga kailangang malaman ng ating mga local government units at mga kababayan natin tungkol dito sa mga guidelines ng IATF. So, at the time, no, individuals not included in the vulnerable sector. Ang definition po natin that time, pag sinabi natin vulnerable sector is below the age of 21 and above the age of 60. So, pwede silang mag-leave their residences, pero para lang mag-obtain ng essential goods and services or for work in permitted industries and offices. And then in-emphasize po talaga itong pinaka-importante at that during that period, yung unhampered movement ng ating mga cargo vehicles. Kasi kailangan po natin ng pagkain at ng medisina at mga essential goods. So in July of 2020, under Section 7 of the IATF Omnibus Guidelines, ito yung in-issue ng IATF dated July 16, 2020, inadopt po ng department, fully adopted these Omnibus Guidelines in relation to the movement of people and goods. So during this period, no, okay na yung interzonal movement natin. Pwede na yung transit of people and goods from an ECQ area to a GCQ area and vice versa. And an area not under community quarantine to a GCQ or ECQ area and vice versa. And in the case of transit across localities in the same community quarantine setup, such transits are treated as movements within a single GCQ or ECQ zone. During those period, kung maaalala po ninyo, kagulo po tayo, hindi na nga natin maintindihan ano ba ang GCQ, ang ECQ, ang MECQ, and then, nung nagsimula na po tayo na pwede nang lumabas, yung movement natin, di ba, nauna po syempre yung mga movements ng mga cargos by land, air, or sea within and across areas placed under any form of community quarantine. Sumunod po yung mga workers. Inalaw na po ang mga workers in the logistics sector. So, after that, ito na po yung mga listahan na pwede nang lumabas. So, we have our health, of course, primarily health and emergency frontline services personnel, And then government officials and government frontline personnel, duly authorized humanitarian assistance actors, and persons traveling for medical or humanitarian reasons. So at that time, kailangan ng travel authority. Pagka hindi kailangan ng travel authority if you are traveling within the same province or within Metro Manila and you have a family or medical emergency, or if you're leaving Metro Manila or your province because of a death in the immediate family, hindi kailangan ng travel authority. But in instances where you are leaving your province or the Metro Manila to attend a family or medical emergency na hindi naman a matter of life and death situation, kailangan natin mag-secure ng travel authority. And if you are a locally stranded individual, so maalala po ba ninyo yung mga panahon na ang dami pong nakapila ng mga LSIs na gusto na pong umuwi, kailangan nilang, bago sila makauwi, kailangan po nila ng travel authority. And then, kailangan din ng ating medical, ang dami pong kailangan, medical clearance certificate, and then, if you're traveling to another province within the same region, ang nag-i-issue po ng travel authority is the chief of the city or municipal police station. And if you're traveling outside your region or leaving Metro Manila, the travel authority is to be issued by the director of the district, provincial, or city police unit. And kahit po yung mga directors of higher police offices, they can also grant travel authority. So marami po tayong nasaksihan na mga pangyayari dito sa pag-secure. Ganun po kahirap mag-secure dati ng mga travel authority. Not because of yung sistema siguro, but because of the flock of people na gusto nang mag-travel, especially yung mga ating mga makulong or mga LSIs natin na ano dito sa Metro Manila, and then they wanted to go home na doon sa kanilang mga probinsya. So, persons going to the airport for travel abroad, pwede silang lumabas. And then, ang ating mga returning or repatriated OFWs, persons transported to the airports of the national government, anyone closing zone, so dumami na po ito, authorized shuttle services. So, unti-unti nakita natin yung pagluluwag from the GCQ and ECQ and ECQ hanggang sa dumating. Ito na yung inintay natin, no, after the Omicron variant. Nagkaroon na tayo ng pagbabago. Lumuwag na po yung ating mga restrictions. So, ito po yung sinusunod natin ngayon, yung guidelines on the nationwide implementation of alert level system for COVID-19 response. Ang ginamit na natin dito is yung granular lockdown. So, we are now using the alert level system. So, we have the alert level system 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So, under these guidelines, LGUs ay ine-enjoin to enact necessary ordinances to enforce protocols and to penalize in a fair and humane manner violations of these protocols. And law enforcement agencies are likewise strongly enjoined to observe fair and humane treatment of violators. Also, item 9 states that as a national policy, all LGUs shall ensure unhampered movement by land, air, or sea of all types of goods and cargoes, including their personnel and delivery vehicles to and from their destination, regardless of alert level. So, makikita po natin na binibigyan po natin ng kahalagahan itong tuloy-tuloy na movement ng ating mga goods and cargoes. And dun sa item 7, ito ay yung pagbibigay natin ng importansya, no, ng local autonomy or yung decentralization. Kaya nabibigyan po ang mga local government units ng authority na mag-enact sila ng kanilang mga kanya-kanya or sariling ordinances to enforce yung protocols natin. So, tingnan po natin kung ano yung guidelines on movements, no, for alert level 5. Based din sa section 2 ng ating guidelines under item 1, intrazonal and interzonal movement of all persons shall be limited to accessing goods and services from permitted establishments for work or for such other activities allowed. And any person below 18 years old, those who are over 65 years of age, those with immunodeficiency, comorbidity, or other health risks, and pregnant women shall be required to remain in their residences except for obtaining essential goods and services or for work in industries and offices or such other activities permitted. So kung makikita po ninyo na during this period na alert level system yung ginagamit natin, no, parang nag-iba na po yung vulnerable sector, yung definition, no, any person below 18 na at saka over 65 years of age. During the early period of the COVID pandemic, di ba, ang definition natin is 60. So, pag 60 above 60, hindi na po pwede. But this time, if you're 61, 62, until 64, pwede pa rin. You're not still considered as within the vulnerable sector. And then for alert level 4, medyo bumaba na po, intrazonal and interzonal travel shall be allowed. Pwede na. But, subject to reasonable regulations of the LGU of destination. So, kailangan lang po natin dapat malaman ano ba yung mga regulations ng LGU kung saan tayo pupunta. But we are now allowed to travel except for those below 18 years old and belonging to the vulnerable population. Namely, ito na yung definition, no? Those who are over 65 years of age, those with immunodeficiencies, comorbidities, or other health risks, and pregnant women, provided that those below 18 years old and vulnerable population shall be allowed access to obtain essential goods and services for work. So, for alert level 3, okay, intrazonal and interzonal travel shall be allowed. Before, nung bago po tayo, no, tayo nag-alert level 1 tayo, but in some other areas of the country, may mga alert level 3 pa rin. Kaya napaka-importante po na when we go out for travel, we should know ano yung alert level status ng LGUs of our destination. So, for alert level 3, pwedeng pong magbiyahe doon. However, reasonable restrictions may be imposed by LGUs. So, may mga may mga restrictions pa sila. But, we should not be stricter as those prescribed under higher alert levels and subject to the oversight, monitoring, and evaluation of the regional IATF. And provided that those below 18 years old and belonging to the vulnerable population shall be allowed access to obtain essential goods and services or for work. So if you can, kung titingnan po natin itong particular provision, no, yung section 4 ng guidelines, pwede na pong magbiyahe pag alert level 3, except lang yung mga below 18 years old and belonging to the vulnerable population. Pwede lang sila for work or to obtain essential goods and services. And then we have the alert level 2. So, intrazonal and interzonal travel shall be allowed. However, reasonable restrictions may be imposed by LGUs. Katulad din sa alert level 3, no, the restrictions should not be stricter as those prescribed under higher alert levels and subject to the oversight, monitoring, and evaluation of their RIATF. And now for alert level 1, which we are now enjoying. Ito na po ang ating alert level status as of the moment, alert level 1. So, under section 6, part 1, B, point C ng guidelines, public transportation in areas under alert level 1 shall be at full seating capacity. So, kaya pwede na tayong lumabas. Hindi na problema po ang transportation because they are now at full seating capacity. And for intrazonal and interzonal travels involving public land transportation between an area with a higher alert level classification and an area under alert level 1, the passenger capacity shall be that which has the lower passenger capacity rate between the point of origin and point of destination. And for aviation, maritime, and rail public transport operating in and out of alert levels 1 areas, the passenger capacity will be at 100%. Hindi na rin po ini-endorso yung paggamit ng acrylic and or plastic dividers. So, kung sasakay po tayo ng jeep, wala na yung mga nakalagay na mga dividers, mga plastic dividers. And the use of the safe, swift, and smart passage travel management system, or the SPAS, shall likewise not be required for interzonal travel to areas under alert level 1. So, itong SPAS po kasi ay ginagamit natin during the earlier quarantine period, no? Ito pong SPAS is an online app developed by DOST. So later i-discuss ko po yung importansya ng SPAS. Although for now, for alert level 1, hindi na po kailangan yung SPAS, yung paggamit ng SPAS. Okay, so kanina na-discuss ng Bureau of Quarantine, ano ba yung mga kailangan nilang i-present sa atin. And sa atin naman, now that we are saying we can now travel, sabi na ni DOT Secretary kanina, let's enjoy once more, let's have fun, let's visit the different places in the Philippines. So, siguro ang tanong natin is, ano bang mangyayari sa atin pag tayo ay nagbiyahe? Ano yung updated quarantine and isolation protocols for travelers? So, ito po yung nakita natin as annex doon sa guidelines, no? For Filipino nationals, siguro marami naman or karamihan sa atin ngayon dito sa forum natin ay fully vaccinated adult, no? So, wala po tayong problema if we are fully vaccinated adult because when we travel within the Philippines, wala na pong mandatory facility-based quarantine. Diba? Dati, pag magbabiyahe tayo, diretso tayo dun sa mga facilities bago po tayo makauwi sa ating bahay or sa ating pupuntahan. Only you have to wear masks and self-monitor for any sign or symptom for 7 days. So, maging responsible po tayo sa ating mga sarili. Pag tayo ay nagbabiyahe, kailangan po nating mag-self-monitor. And then, for foreign nationals authorized to enter the Philippines, yung mga papasok po dito sa atin, ganun din, no more mandatory facility-based quarantine. They also have to wear masks and self-monitor for any sign or symptom for 7 days. And for unvaccinated, partially vaccinated adult, yan. Sa ating po ba dito, may mga unvaccinated or partially vaccinated, magpabakuna na po tayo. Kasi if you're not fully vaccinated and you belong to this category of unvaccinated or partially vaccinated adult, mahirap pong bumiyahe. Because when you travel, you have to have facility-based quarantine until the release of their negative RT-PCR test taken on the 5th day from date of arrival, and home quarantine na or home quarantine until their 14th day from date of arrival. So, suportahan po natin ang ating pamahalaan, magpapapunan na po tayo, at para rin po sa ating kaligtasan. And then for unvaccinated minor children, kasi ngayon pwede na po kahit mga bata. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, no, sino po yung mahilig sa social media, sa Facebook, sa Instagram, makikita nyo andun yung mga pictures ng mga family, kahit mga bata, ganyan, enjoying the beautiful scenery and tourist spots of the country, and even outside the Philippines. So, kung they follow, yung mga unvaccinated minor children, they follow the quarantine protocols of their parents. So, you see the advantage of being fully vaccinated. So, we can travel and we can bring our kids. And kung ano yung quarantine protocols natin, ganun din yung quarantine protocols ng ating mga anak. So now that we know that we can now travel, we can bring our kids, and we know the quarantine and isolation protocols, siguro we are now planning for a trip, no? Especially ngayong summer, alam ko marami na pong gustong lumabas, pumunta sa beach, at makita din yung ating mga kamag-anak sa probinsya. So, naglagay lang ako ng mga to-do list when planning for a trip na baka makatulong po ito sa atin. So, siguro ito po una. Yun. Know the alert level status of the LGU of destination. Kung saan po tayo pupunta, dapat po alam natin ano ba yung alert level status nila. So, tingnan po natin ang yung latest ay ATF resolution para alam natin kung ano yun. Or, we can visit the espas.ph. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na website, no? https://www.espas.ph. Yan. So, when you're traveling within the Philippines, although sa ngayon, dahil alert level 1, hindi ito nire-require, but you can still use this one to check the alert level status of the LGU of destination. Kasi if you see the site, makikita nyo dito, traveling within the Philippines, and then ilalagay nyo lang po dito kung saan kayo pupunta. City, municipality, or province, and then you just type, and then see restrictions para makita nyo kung may restrictions ang LGU na pupuntahan ninyo. And then, katulad nito, no, kanina lang, trinay po, so I type Butuan City. For example, pupunta ako Butuan City. So, from this site, makikita mo kung ano yung travel requirements. So, may contact details din doon. You may contact them para malaman kung ano ba yung may mga ordinansa ba silang pinasa, may mga certain restrictions ba sila. Kasi remember, yung alert level status natin, pwede silang mag-issue ng mga granular lockdown, no? Baka itong barangay pala na ito or itong pupuntahan mo na bibisitahin naka-granular lockdown. So, not the entire city, but in certain places, pwede nila yun maglagay ng mga certain restrictions. So, it's better na to coordinate with the LGU. So, you can use the SPAS, makikita dito may mga contact details, and then makikita yung requirements. Like for example, yung Butuan City, sabi nga niya, no SPAS required as per Executive Number 5, Series of 2022. So, dito makikita mo yung travel policy table, no? So, makikita mo is Butuan City is unrestricted. Okay, so ibig sabihin, pwede tayong pumunta. So, makikita mo yung mga contact details dito. You just have to navigate the site. And you will know kung ano yung i-expect mo doon sa lugar kung saan po tayo pupunta. And then number 2, ito na. We also have to visit www.trace.ph. Online din po ito. Sa desktop or computer, no, makikita natin yung site nila, yung Trace na website. So kung may mga questions po tayo regarding this app, makikita nyo po dun sa homepage nila. They have home news, how Trace works, and then download. Kasi ito po ay app. Kailangan po ninyong i-download ito at dun sa inyong mobile phone. Kasi you have to register. Hindi tayo nakaka-register sa using our computer or laptop. Sa mobile lang po may app. Okay? So, ano po ba itong Trace? Ito yung ginagamit natin na contact tracing app na dinevelop po ng DOTR. So, ito, kanina I tried. May chat siya. So, you can ask. Okay? Like for this example, I asked, hi, do we still need to use Trace when traveling now that we are at alert level 1? Kasi yung Trace, kasi ginagamit ito prior to alert level 1. So, tinanong ko, kung alert level 1 ba, ginagamit pa din? And then, ang sagot po is yes. Trace is one of the requirements for all international and domestic passengers, whether arriving in or departing from any airport in the Philippines. So, kanina ko lang po ito tinanong. So, siguro nga, talagang kailangan pa rin po natin itong i-download at mag-register po tayo dito sa Trace. And when registering, no, you have to write down your username and password and use a username that is easy to recall. Kasi pwede pong, dahil hindi naman po tayo madalas magbiyahe, makakalimutan natin yung username and password. So lahat ng mga apps na, sa dami ng mga apps na ginagamit natin, no? So, you have to write down your username and password. And if ever na nakalimutan natin yung password, meron naman siyang retrieve may remedy sila to retrieve your account. You have to click the forgotten password and then kailangan lang pong i-input mo yung valid na username and then i-send po nila doon sa registered email address for your password. Kasi po nangyari sa akin ito. I use it when I first traveled and then nakalimutan ko na, so ang hirap. But ayun nga, meron siyang remedy for forgotten password. But of course, better is let's write down the username and our password for our future use. So SPAS to know the alert level status of your LGU, and then of course Trace para sa contact tracing. And then hindi lang po ito ginagamit pag we travel by air, no? But also in seaports, tinanong din natin, ang sabi nila, you can use Trace in all airport and seaport nationwide. Even MRT3 and other LGUs is also using Trace as their contact tracing app. So, may added value po siya, hindi lang sa airport, seaport, but even as a local contact tracing app for some LGUs. Okay. And then, number 3, no? We have to prepare your vaccination card. So, lahat naman po tayo, pag nabakunahan, meron tayong vaccination card, but you can also have your vaccination certificate. And makikita po natin ito sa website or sa site ng DOH, yung vaccert.doh.gov.ph. So, makikita po natin dito. 4 steps lang po ito. Review data privacy and then enter your details tatanungin tayo kung kailan tayo nabakunahan. You review the information and then you can get the certificate right away. So pwede mo na siyang i-download, i-save mo na sa iyong mobile phone kasi meron po yan QR code. Okay? So instead of bringing your vaccination card with you, you can use this vaccination certificate online. So I cannot see. Okay, so during your departure day, so okay na, nakapag-register na po tayo, alam na natin kung ano yung alert level status ng LGUs. During your departure day, you have to ensure na meron kang travel coordination permit if required. Ito yung nire-require kapag above alert level 1. Yung travel coordination pass. And then, nakapag-register na po tayo sa TRACE, meron na tayong vaccination card and certificate. And number 4, yung local contact tracing app. Kasi pagdating po ninyo doon sa LGU of destination, meron po silang contact tracing app. So you cannot parang sa atin, no, you cannot go to the mall if you don't have the local contact tracing app. So other LGUs use the Stay Safe, that PH. Yung iba, sabi nga ng TRACE, they use TRACE, but other LGUs have their own contact tracing app. Like for example, in Cagayan de Oro, kasi that's the last city that I went, no? So meron silang Higala. Higala naman yung tracing app. And makikita niyo po itong mga contact tracing app dun sa ESPAS. When you check, nandun na nakalagay, sasabihin na nila kung ano yung mga contact tracing app ng LGU. So pwede niyo na rin doon makuha at ma-download. Para when you're traveling na, kompleto na po kayo ng mga ng app. So you can go anywhere in the area kasi iyan po yung nire-require nila. And then of course, well-fitted mask properly and bring alcohol or hand sanitizer. Allowed po ito when you travel by air. Until 100 ml kasi liquid po ito, di ba? Yun po yung parang pinaka-protocol natin. If you're bringing liquid, so 3.4 ohms or 100 ml of alcohol, pwede po natin yan dalhin sa ating pagbiyahe sa aeroplano. So by land naman, wala naman yan minimum. So, very handy dapat kailangan po natin kasi we have to still secure yung safety natin at saka ng ating mga kababayan. So, with that, let's have a safe and enjoyable travel within and outside the Philippines. This ends my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much po, Atty. Flores. So indeed, excited na po ako to have a safe and enjoyable travel. So again, for the participants, we will be having the Q&A after our last speaker. But we are respectfully reminding everyone to complete 90% of this kapihan for you to receive the e-certificate via email. And for our last speaker for tonight, let us all welcome Mr. Joemier Pontawe.
Good evening, everyone. Can anyone confirm po if they can see the screen already?
Yes, sir. Malinaw po.
Okay. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Secretary Art Togade and Undersecretary Steve Pastor of the Road Sector, I am ENP Joemier Pontawe, and I'll be discussing very quickly tonight po yung ating regulations in public transportation. So first of all, we would like to thank PCOM for organizing this event, and allow me to discuss po that as mentioned po kanina by our DILG representative, currently for alert level 1 local government units and areas, we are allowing 100% seating capacity for intrazonal and interzonal travels. Basically, the Department of Transportation came up with a transportation model based from international best practices and data from the International Association of Public Transportation to look into the relationship of the vaccination rate as well as public transport seating capacity. So around November and December of last year po, we recommended to the IATF the 100% seating capacity once a certain level of vaccination rate is achieved. Kaya po na-implement na ito nung nag-alert level 1 in other local government units. Alongside that po, we acknowledge that there's still the COVID-19 pandemic, and that's why since the onset of the pandemic po nung March of 2020, and when we allowed the public transport to operate in June of 2020, we have established the 7 commandments inside the public transportation. So hanggang ngayon po, pinapatupad pa rin ito ng departamento, yung ating wearing of face masks. We also prohibit or discourage yung talking or making phone calls inside public transportation. Eating po is also not allowed inside public transportation. And then we have also thoroughly discussed yung keeping of PUVs well ventilated and opening of windows if possible. Our public transport operators po are also reminded to conduct frequent disinfection, especially inside terminals and yung mga PUVs po na laging sinasakyan ng ating mga tao. And then in all terminals po and before boarding public transportation, meron din po tayong temperature check and checking of symptoms para yung mga may COVID symptoms po ay hindi payagang makasakay ng public transportation. Physical distancing is still being observed, particularly inside terminals, even though we allow yung 100% capacity na po para kapag mas matagal po silang nasa isang enclosed area, meron pa rin pong requirement for physical distancing. And then on behalf of all the enforcement agencies, the DOTR, LTFRB, the Land Transportation Office, the Philippine National Police, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, we also have the Interagency Council on Traffic and other IATF authorized personnel. They are deployed po continuously at the strategic locations. For example, mga terminals po, yung actual mga stops for our PUVs, offices, and depots to ensure that the strict compliance with service, sanitary, and operational requirements that were previously mentioned, particularly yung 7 commandments, are being followed. So we acknowledge po that the pandemic has greatly impacted yung ating public transportation, particularly yung road-based public transport, yung ating mga buses, yung ating mga jeepneys. Kaya po, as part of the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act, we, the Department of Transportation and its attached agencies, developed the service contracting program, the first ever service contracting po for road-based public transportation. Yung service contracting po, binabayaran natin ng per kilometer ang ating mga public transport drivers and operators, so they will not rely now on fare collection. Ibig sabihin po, kung ilang kilometrahe po yung itinakbo nila, yun po yung ibibigay sa kanila bayad at hindi na po nila kailangang isipin na konti yung pasahero or prior to the alert level 1 system, hindi po 100% yung seating capacity. So hindi nila po problemahin yung kanila pong pang-araw-araw na kita. So for the service contracting program, we allocated 5.58 billion under Bayanihan to Recover as One Act. We also got 3 billion po under the 2021 General Appropriations Act. And ngayon po, meron din po tayong 7 billion for 2022 to continuously implement this program. So as I've mentioned po, we are expected to launch the service contracting program phase 3 this March or April, depending on when the Commission on Elections po will grant our request for exemption. So under the service contracting program po, ito po yung bibigay din ng libreng sakay for our healthcare workers and APORs po. So all throughout the implementation po, since March of 2020, 4.6 million total ridership na po ng ating healthcare workers yung na-record. In phase 1 po, 31.6 million ridership ang na-record natin for healthcare workers and APORs. In phase 2 naman po, 42.7 million ridership. Since we have 7 billion po for this year, we're expecting a total ridership na free ride po of around 80 million. So expect po na kapag na-launch po ulit itong programang ito, meron din pong mga free ride ulit na shuttle services for our healthcare workers na malo-launch. And then aside from service contracting po, no, ang DOTR po at yung mga attached agencies niya in cooperation again as well with DILG and DPWH and DOH, nag-launch po tayo ng ating mga active transportation initiatives. Yung kauna-unahan po dito is yung sa Bayanihan to Recover as One Act again, naka-receive po tayo ng 1.3 billion. Kaya kung makikita nyo po, nag-increase po ngayon yung ating mga active transport facilities. So aside from providing an alternative mode of transportation, yung ating pong active transport increases the accessibility of key activity areas. It also provides a low-cost transportation option. Basically, it also reduces transport emission, lalo na tayo po ay signatory ng Paris Agreement. It also reduces road congestion, especially if yung mga first and last mile na hindi na kailangan magsasakyan ng mga tao, magbabike na lang po sila because you have the proper infrastructure installed in key areas. It also significantly improves yung overall public health and safety. It provides daily physical activity po from our commuters na nag-decide mag-shift to active transport. And because of the facilities that were established during the pandemic at itutuloy po natin beyond the pandemic, na-reduce po yung road-related fatal crash incidents. As mentioned po, no, nung pong Bayanihan to Recover as One Act, we were given 1.3 billion and about 497 kilometers of bike lanes were developed, no, all across the country. So 129 kilometers in Metro Cebu, 54.74 kilometers in Metro Davao, and then 313 kilometers in Metro Manila. Ito po yung sample pictures natin ng mga active transport facilities. And expect po that in 2022, we also received the budget for this one. So may expect po ng lahat na tuloy-tuloy po nating i-expand yung ating mga active transport facilities all across the country. So yun lamang po, maraming salamat po, and rest assured that all these programs that we mentioned will be part of the better normal for the Department of Transportation. Maraming salamat po at magandang gabi.
Thank you po ulit, Sir Pontawe. So again, no, maraming salamat po sa ating mga respected na mga guests for tonight. Sobrang dami po namin talagang natutunan, no? And yes, no, at this point, can I invite all of our speakers again so we can officially start our open forum? Okay, so while we are setting up our Q&A session, siguro just for the benefit of our speakers and also of our participants, no, we took note of all your questions and we saw that your questions are actually grouped into 3 themes, no, tatlong themes. So kindly be patient, no? If your questions, no, will be asked siguro baka later during the Q&A. But basically the 3 themes we found out will be about the health passes, no, the different health passes, the One Health Pass, the Safe Pass, no, the trapeze, no, the trace pala, the trapeze, iba pala yun. But again, no, so that's the first bulk of the questions. The second bulk will be coming, ito marami po, no, with regards to the yellow and the various vaccine cards. Napakarami po natin question in particular to this. And of course, yung other matters in particular sa ating endemicity, no, and changes in your respective departments. So, okay. So, can we ask the assistance of Dr. Taylor to spotlight all our speakers?
Hello, good
And
evening.
can I ask
May
all
I ask
our speakers
to open the videos? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Taylor. So as I mentioned po, we can start with the first theme po, no, with regards to health passes. Actually, for tonight po, maraming salamat, napakarami po namin talagang nalaman. Kaya lang, ang dami rin po namin nakita or narinig ng mga safe passes, no. There's One Health Pass, we heard stay safe, no. we heard ESPAS, no, we heard the trays na pass. Siguro very quickly, if I will be asking each department or agency, if ano po sa mga pass po dito talaga yung required or just recommended, especially in your covered fields. So maybe we can start with DILG, Atty. Flores.
Yeah, yan din ang problema ko nung nag-travel ako. Sa dami ng mga kailangan mong ibuksan at pag-registeran ng mga sites or mga apps. Pero sa panahon kasi ng prior to alert level 1, no, mandatory at that time ang ESPAS. You cannot board on the plane if hindi ka naka-register sa ESPAS. Kasi pag nag-register ka sa ESPAS, doon mo rin makukuha yung iyong travel coordination permit. It is through that system that you will be able to get a parang travel permit or dati ang tinatawag natin travel authority, di ba? Pero ngayon, travel coordination permit. So, napakahalaga yung ESPAS. At the same time, yun yung sinasabi ko, kahit na yung ibang LGUs hindi updated, no, mapapansin mo pag matagal na bago nila in-update yun. Matagal na bago sila naglagay ng mga details. But, andun po yung contact details nila. Yun, sa akin, napakahalaga yun para kung sa tingin natin hindi updated, we can call them. We have a number to call. Usually, ang nag-handle po ng ESPAS sa mga LGUs, yung kanilang Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council or a unit na talagang create, dedicated for travelers. So, kailangan talaga, yung trace kasi, it is being required by DOTR. It is a local tracing, contact tracing app. It's a contact tracing app. Sa experience ko, I will talk based on my personal experience, no? Dahil nakita ko na kailangan ang trace, so I had to register. But, nung pumunta po ako sa airport, nobody asked about it. Pero at least ako, kampante ako na kahit anong mangyari, ready ako because I have this trace app. So, siguro kung may representative tayo from DOTR, baka may maidagdag po sila about this trace app. But that is my personal experience. Whenever I travel within the Philippines, I always use the trace app. And the ESPAS for coordination with the LGU. And of course, kailangan po natin yung local contact tracing app ng LGU mismo. So yun po yung sa tingin ko ay mahalagang mga sites or app na kailangan po nating dalhin o gawin bago po tayo magbiyahe para walang aberya po. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attorney. No? So talagang they are very highly talagang encouraged na mga applications na yan. Not only sa ating personal safety, but syempre for the safety of the entire country, if you will. And since DOTR was mentioned, is it okay, Sir Joemier, if you can add anything sa answer ni Attorney?
Yes, definitely po. Magandang gabi po ulit sa lahat. Just to clarify po, I'm from the road sector, so we basically monitor and come up with regulations for road-based public transportation. So we have the aviation, the maritime, and the rail sector as well. But as mentioned po by Atty. Flores, patuloy pong ginagamit yung trace app in our ports, so airports and in maritime ports. For road sector po, ang ginagamit po natin dati ay yung Stay Safe PH na app, and it's connected po dun sa mga QR codes na installed in public utility vehicles. Although one of our challenges po in road sector is that compared with rail, aviation, and maritime, we have hundreds of thousands of individual operators, so disaggregated yung operations. Kaya ang naging focus po ng road sector is to ensure that public transportation is safe during the pandemic po. And again, with the data from the International Association of Public Transport, that public transportation, parang ang transmission rate po niya is less than 1%. Doon po tayo nag-focus talaga, doon sa pag-ensure na efficient at safe pa rin yung operations niya despite the pandemic. But for now po, wala po tayong ginagamit na contact tracing na for road-based public transportation.
Thank you very much, sir, for that clarification. USec Morales, what about sa Department of Tourism? Meron po bang absolute requirement sa ating mga travelers?
Siguro, kailangan mo munang tingnan kasi kung bakit nagkaroon ng ganyan. For example, although ayoko sanang mabanggit yung sa OHP kasi nandito si Doc Ope, pero yung OHP is clearly for monitoring and border control. Meaning yung pumapasok dito, kaya siya na-develop. For SPAS, kasi dati may travel coordination, travel order. Kung maaalala nyo, nung unang panahon na MGCQ, GCQ, ECQ tayo, mga year 2020, kailangan magpapirma pa sa mga task force COVID pa, yung mga PNP chief, di ba? Yung chief ng hepe ng mga municipal police sa mga LGU. So, di-develop kasi yun, one is to monitor, magkaroon ng coordination sa mga pupunta doon sa LGU. Because of one, makontrol din yung pagpasok. Because noong that time, kailangan talaga mag-manage mo yung destination. So, for us, if the LGU will require yung SPAS, kung nasa alert level 2 siya ngayon, definitely kailangan yung tourist, mga travelers natin, either locals or domestic or foreigners, pag pumasok na sila dito, obligado dapat yan kasi it's a requirement from the LGU. Ideally, dapat iisa na lang yun sa domestic travel, but alam naman natin na mayroon tayong local government code, so may mga nasasaad doon na may mga kapangyarihan ng mga local government despite of this policy. Kasi ang IATF provides the national strategic policy, but the operational guidelines and operational policy on the ground ay trabaho ng mga local government units yun. So may kaakibat yun ng mga executive orders and sometimes parang ordinansa na yung ginagawa ng mga LGU. For some LGUs, aside sa SPAS, minsan yung automatic approval na lang yon para rin makontrol nila yung destination, yung carrying capacity ng isang tourist destination. May sarili sila mga application. Like for example, Baguio City, meron silang bisita apps o yung bisita, visitors information system, travel application. Dumadaan lahat ng pumapasok sa Baguio noon mula pa ng 2020, late 2020 hanggang na nag-early 2021. Ang sa Boracay, ganun din, may sariling application. Kasi ang purpose nun is to have a monitoring system para ma-manage yung destination. Kasi although lumuluwag yung ating restrictions in terms of alert level, kailangan nandun pa rin yung minimum public health standards. Kasi kami sa DOT, kahit say alert level 1 na yan, sa isang beach, for example, sun and beach destination, hindi po pwedeng crowded. So may certain level of capacity yung mga destinations natin na kailangan ma-monitor ng LGU. So ginagamit nila yon hindi para pahirapan yung mga bisita na sa atin, sa perspective syempre ng mga travelers, it will be hassle kasi iba na naman application. Pero intindihin natin, ginagawa naman nila yon para magkaroon ng mas safer and na pagbisita natin o kung gusto natin magbakasyon. So siguro yun lang sa part namin. If the LGU will require the SPAS, definitely kailangan yon kasi sila yung border control on the domestic side ng travel. But meron ding mga applications ng ibang destination to have yung destination management to control yung carrying capacity. May mga applications yung mga destinations na yon. And para okay yung ginawa kanina ni attorney, para salagang step by step, kung pupunta ka, alamin mo muna kung saan ka pupunta, ano yung requirements doon. Ganun din yung pinapayo namin sa mga magbibiyahe, foreigner or domestic or locals. Kung pupunta ka sa ganitong lugar, alamin mo kasi every week nagbabago yung policy . Minsan may bagong policy sa taas, iba pala yung policy sa baba. Yung transmission from the strategic policy to operational policy sa LGUs naiiba, or minsan nagkakaroon ng delays, no? So kailangan talaga, and if you want to know talaga yung yung mas updated, tingnan mo rin yung LGU of destination natin. Yung sa mga foreign travelers, kay Doc Obet ko na ibibigay.
Thank you very much, USec Morales. So, Director Salvador, we are asking for your anything that you want to add, and especially na-mention po yung One Health Pass ni USec Morales.
Yes, sir. Thank you, USec Morales, USec Chris. Sir, ang One Health Pass po, mandatory to sa lahat ng international travelers natin, both Filipinos and foreigners. And coordinated and integrated na rin po ito sa SOAS. So nagbibigay na tayo ng advance information po sa DILG para po magamit po dun sa SPAS po. So ini-improve pa po natin yung system para po mas magamit natin yung data ng mga international travelers natin for local domestic use po. Thank you, sir.
Oh, it's great to hear, sir. So basically, parang i-relate na lahat sa One Health Pass, no? Itong mga passes na banggit natin. At least that's what I'm hearing. Sir, may question din po pala, since we are talking of foreign travel, Director Salvador, kailangan pa rin po ba yung One Health Pass kung babalik ka na sa Pilipinas?
Yes po, lahat po ng pabalik sa Pilipinas po, requirement po talaga yung One Health Pass. So, ang isa po ito sa requirements. So, once na sa mga airlines na hindi po papasakahin ng passenger kung hindi po kumpleto ang registration ng One Health Pass. Dahil po kasi sa One Health Pass, yung process natin napapaikli, yung dating 30 minutes to 1 hour na process sa airport, once na completed ng One Health Pass, nadi-decrease po less than 10 minutes.
I see. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. So, going to our next theme po, ito yung marami po talagang question. No? I hope you can bear with us. Ito po yung tungkol sa ating mga yellow card, no, and vaccine cards. Marami pong nagtatanong with regards kung ang yellow card po ba ay mandatory for foreign travels? Siguro we can again na during quarantine.
Yes, sir. Ang yellow card po or yung International Certificate of Vaccination or Prophylaxis issued by WHO, hindi po ito mandatory. Ang una po natin gagawin, tulad ng payo nila USec Chris and ng other speakers natin, tignan muna ang requirements sa country of destination. Meron naman po tayo ngayong ini-issue na vaccert.ph, national po ito. Ito yung ini-issue official ng Pilipinas na ino-honor na rin po ng other countries. So you check lang po kung ano po yung ino-honor. Kung ino-honor po ang vaccert sa country of destination, okay na po yung vaccert. Kasi po ang vaccert is government funded. Unlike ang yellow card po, meron po itong bayad. Thank you po.
Director, what about yung mga hospital vaccination cards, for example, mga non-LGU issued na mga cards, whether digital or non-digital, pero outside po ng vaccine, marami pong nagtatanong pwede daw po ba yun? Are those acceptable?
There are certain countries po na tumatanggap din ng mga LGU or hospital vaccination card. Pero pinaka-safe nga po is either vaccert or yellow card ang dali natin kasi yun po ang mas official. Pero in US ata or even Canada, nag-accept po ng vaccination card from LGU and hospital.
I see. So talagang ang bottom line is we really need to research po sa ating destination kung ano po yung ating mga requirements. This next question po maybe I can direct sa DILG kay Atty. Flores again. There are many questions pertaining to the updating ng ating vaccert. Many are claiming na nagpabakuna na sila from somewhere and yet it is not, the vaccines are not registered sa vaccert. And even booster, lalo na yung booster, ang dami questions po sa chat. And this question po is not only for Atty. Flores, if anyone po from this panel, pwede pong sumagot.
Siguro ako nasasagot kasi member ako sa Vaxxer.
Ayun, perfect.
Ang isang nagiging problem ng LGU is yung hindi sila doon sa lugar nila nagpabakuna or nagbi-mix yung bakuna. Meaning, first dose niya dito sa QC, second dose, pwede ka siyang nagpabakuna sa Makati, third dose o yung booster sa probinsya. So, or may sometimes kasi may namamali yung entry ng mga, depende kung sa first or second dose. Ano yun? Ang initial agreement is yung LGU ang magko-correct. Pag nag-reflect yun sa system, parang parang I need mag-email nung ako, kung ako yung gusto magkaroon ng back cert, i-email ko yung LGU. Kaya lang, kung makikita nyo lang yung datos ng backlogs at yung kailangan ng mga tao, ay talagang mapapa-high ka na lang kasi talagang malaki ang backlog ng sistema. So, yun lang, accounting patience. Kung hindi nagre-reflect, dapat ibato natin doon sa LGU kung saan tayo nagpabakuna talaga. Kasi yun lang yung yung process na ginagawa ngayon. Pero kung titingnan nyo, millions yung backlogs natin. Hindi ko lang alam ang QC kung nasa pinakamarami. Kung isa sa pinakamaraming backlogs. I'm not yet sure.
Thank you very much po. Any other po from the panel who would like to add? Or specifically, parang ang question, anong as a civilian, anong magagawa namin to hasten up maybe this process sa pag-issue ng vaccine?
Tapos na kasi kung sa vaccination may magagawa. Pero kasi kung doon na sa process of verifying, nasa LGU na kasi yung game Doc Jason. So, nung nagpalit ng taon, maraming mga JOs o contractors yung LGU rin na hindi na renew. So, maraming causes, budget and all. So, tapos kinulungan na lang namin through DOLE, mabigyan ng additional fund through the Dare to Pad program para maipasok na. Pero ganun pa rin, may mga backlogs na nangyayari. Because of yung data entry, magkaiba yung mga data entries nung iisang tao, tapos iba-ibang lugar. Tapos yun nang in terms of who will correct na LGU, doon na nagkakaroon din ng kasi syempre kung backlog ako QC, hindi ka naman taga QC pero QC ka nagpabakuna. So yung mga ganong operational problem within the LGU. Pero inaayos naman natin yan sa Backcert TWG para mapabilis, and there are suggestions from the members na kasama namin na ipaspos natin kasi election ngayon. So kung sino yung LGU na mabagal, so kaya lang hindi pa nagkaroon ng agreement kung yung total numbers i-propose namin. So ganun yung situation kung bakit may mga backlogs. Pero kung talagang merong patalastas na lang, kung talagang merong immediate sa inyo na BByahe, kontakin niyo lang ako para maayos natin.
Maraming salamat po, USec. No, but again, truly understandable po. No? So talagang mabilis talaga lahat ang pangyayari. And of course, yung system talagang mag-overload at one point. So thank you for that. Another question po, with regards naman, pumabalik lang po ako sa yellow card. There's one physician in our participant na nagtatanong, pwede po bang private doctor ang mag-sign o mag-reflect sa yellow card? Pwede po ba mag-enter ang mga private physicians sa yellow card?
WHO guidelines po, wala pong alteration na dapat po gawin doon sa yellow card po natin. Official issuing agency lang po ang dapat po maglagay ng data. So may mga ganyang cases po tayo in other countries po, in China, sinusulatan po ng private doctor yung official yellow card po. So hindi po valid yun. Hindi po authorized po. Salamat po.
I see. Thank you for that. What about po sa validity naman po ng ating vaccine certificate? Meron po ba tayong any guidelines. And actually, this is coming from our Dr. Gloriani, the question. So, welcome po, Dr. Gloriani, sa ating Kapihang OH. In particular po, she mentioned na in some countries, meron pong parang interval requirement like 5 to 9 months from your last dose.
Actually, Dr. Jason, isa kami sa nag-raise na niyan. Si Sec Ber na mismo nag-raise niyan sa one IATF meeting regarding do we need to change na yung definition ng fully vaccinated. I think hindi pa tayo nagpapapasok ng totally maraming turista. Before February 10 pa. Ni-raise na rin ni Sec yan. And I'm not sure, Doc Obet, kung familiar ka, parang kasi sa WHO parang hindi pa tanggap yung definition. Yung definition ng fully vaccinated is as is pa rin. Pero logically, titingnan mo siya sa in logical terms lang. Talagang kung 6 months lang yung magiging effective, let's say, isang bakuna, tapos more than 6 months na, 9 months ka na, bababa na yung panlaban mo. Logically speaking, talagang siguro dapat magpa-boost ka. And I think yung question if we allow yung mga may booster o wala, napagdidiskusyon na yan sa IATF. Hindi naman siya ngayon lang, talagang pinag-uusapan na yan, na paunti-unti. Nilalatag lang din kasi natin na dapat tayo din yung antas nung vaccination rate natin tumaas din. Yung mga ganong aspeto tinitingnan din. Kasi hindi lang naman health yung mag-apektuhan, DFA, tourism and all. So, pinag-uusapan naman yan and it's logical talaga na pag-isipan yan kasi matagal na meron mga bakuna karamihan sa atin.
Thank you po.
Dagdag ko lang, even our tourism workers, pinupush talaga namin ng mga tourism workers na magpa-booster na. Kasi karamihan sa kanila, December pa yung huli. And some, yung mga early, mga third quarter of 2021 pa. So talagang pinupush na rin ni Sec Ber na yun na magpa-booster sila.
Thank you very much, USec. Actually, very promising po or very relieving to see the percentage ng ating vaccination sa ating mga tourism workers presented a while ago. So thank you po for that. Going naman po sa other topics, marami pong nagre-report ng violations. I don't know po kung nagmo-monitor kayo sa chat, ang dami nagmo-monitor. Maybe an advice perhaps from each department or agency. How will we go about if we see some violations? Maybe let's start sa Department of Transportation.
Magandang gabi po ulit, no? Opo, pwede po kayo mag-send lang ng chat sa ating IACT, yung Interagency Council on Traffic and sa Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board. Meron pong nagmo-monitor din on the ground kasi, but as I've mentioned po, since very disaggregated yung road-based public transport, hindi din po ganun kadali yung actual monitoring. Particularly, for example, yung terminals po kasi ng mga yan, kanya-kanya talaga sila. And it's one of our efforts po is to, kumbaga, lagay sila sa isang intermodal na terminal. So kung meron po kayong nasakyan na pampublikong transportasyon na hindi po sumusunod doon sa ating 7 commandments or doon sa ibang mga health-related protocols, pwede po kayong mag-send lang ng message sa IACT or sa LTFRB or even sa Land Transportation Office po.
Thank you very much, Sir Pontawe. Atty. Flores, may mga comments sa chat na minsan yung mga LGU, iba daw po ang ini-implement sa ground level. So, any advice po or how to report or how to manage po in such cases?
Yes, alam po natin yan at namomonitor po ng ating department, no? Especially, yan, yung isa sa mga dahilan, pwede pong nagkakaroon po ng delay po doon sa pag-transmit po kasi pagka meron na pong national guidelines, kailangan po yan ibaba. Yung process ng pagbaba po sa ating mga local government units, minsan nadidelay. Kaya tayo, nanonood tayo ng balita, alam na natin na ito yung mga bago ng mga protocols, and yet, pagdating po natin doon sa LGU, hindi pa sila naka-adjust. Pangalawa po, dahil na rin doon sa, siguro doon sa lugar, kasi hindi kasi tayo pwedeng makapagbigay ng isang guidelines para sa lahat kasi po, iba-iba po yung sitwasyon ng ating mga local government units. Lalo na kaya nga po na-develop itong granular lockdown, na kahit na sinabi natin na sa kabuuan itong LGUA ay alert level 1, pero pwede po niyang i-declare ng higher alert level status yung 2-3 barangays na nakitaan na mas mataas yung transmission. So may mga ganoong sitwasyon, kaya po magkakaiba po talaga doon sa ini-expect natin na mga protocols. At meron din po talaga naman na aminado tayo na may mga sadyang pasaway din na mga local governments na it's either po sa pananaw nila doon sa pag-invoke po nila ng local autonomy, no? Minsan may mga LGUs na nahihigitan nila yung kanilang authority to do it. So, pag napapansin po natin itong mga local governments na to, we call their attention. So, nagkakaroon po tayo ng mga administrative talks with them, dialogues with them, para nang sa ganun maiayos natin para hindi naman mapahirapan lalo ang ating mga kababayan. So, kung sakali po na parang sa tingin natin there is abuse doon sa mga local governments, no? Pwede naman po natin i-report, no, sa ating mga local government operations officers. Sa bawat LGU po, meron kaming tao. Ang DILG, meron po tayong local government operations officer na tinatawag. So, pwede po natin yan i-approach. O pwede rin po yung mag-report po doon sa using the hotline po ng Patrol 117.
Thank you po, Atty. So I'm sure nasagot niyo na po yung concern ng ating participant. USec Morales, naku po, magsisemana Santa na po. Tapos marami magsasummer na.
Ito, marami na rin kaming nakuwang reklamo, lalo sa Boracay. Maraming pasaway dyan sa Boracay. Mga nagpa-party noon na walang mask and all. Pwede namang yung tawagan yung hotline namin, 1386. And also, Department of Tourism na Facebook and Messenger. Department of Tourism Philippines. 24/7 daw yung hotline namin. Yung mga tao kaming nakaandito, nakatutok. Ang mga pwede yung yung mga pasaway na mga establishment, lalo na kung DOT accredited, kung nakita nyo hindi sumusunod yung mga empleyado rin na mag-mask kasi ang minimum namin is naka-mask, hindi nagkakaroon ng crowding sila, nakalagay yung lahat ng mga signages, may mga alcohol sa harapan. Although alert level 1, hindi na nire-require yung temperature checking, no? Pero sa amin, as much as possible dapat meron. Tapos yung ang pagka hindi ka na required, kasi kung kumakain ka, syempre hindi ka naman nakamask, no? Pero dapat always yun, minimum requirements lagi nakamask. And yun, pagka nagkakasayahan na sa party, yun, kailangan din kung may overcrowding na, pwede naman din, dapat yun, hindi talaga hindi inaano. So, kagandahan naman sa amin, mga private groups, sila rin naman nagbabantayan. So, kasi nga iniingatan natin yung magkaroon ng spread out ulit ng cases. So, lagi yan kay SEC or sa akin, sa mga regional offices, pwede naman natin i-inform.
Thank you po, USec. Director Salvador.
Sa amin naman po, ma'am, sir, Alam naman natin yung mga recent na mga violation sa protocol ng mga international traveler natin, yung mga sensationalized na issue about Makati, massage girl. Sa ngayon po, para po maiwasan yung mga ganyang cases, nakipag-tie up na po tayo sa NBI. So lahat po ng mga nakikita natin mga violators, automatic po fina-file namin sa NBI yung cases. Ngayon po, nung nagluwag na tayo, out of the number of arrivals natin, mga 10% pa rin po ang nagkakaroon na papasok natin sa mandatory quarantine dahil hindi pa recognize yung vaccination certificate nila, and mostly po ang mga nagbabiolate ngayon mga foreigners. Pero po nahabol natin yon, active ang PNP, PCG natin. Once na nag-report ang hotel and ang laboratory na wala dun sa hotel, yung foreigner o yung passenger, kinukuha po uli natin yun at binabalik natin sa day 0 and kinakasuhan po natin. Salamat po.
Thank you. Thank you po for all those inputs. And for our last question na po for tonight, I'm sure po napag-uusapan na rin, nasa news na rin po yung alert level 0, and we're now parang thinking lang naman, considering lang naman endemicity. Any foreseeable changes perhaps sa protocol per department or agency po ninyo? And to finish off po the discussion, maybe we can ask for your take-home message. So we can start with Sir Pontawe, if you will.
Yeah, thank you, Doc Cabigon. For the Department of Transportation po, since we are on 100% seating capacity naman na, ang pinaghahandaan po natin is yung katulad po ng mga sinabi ko kanina, yung ating service contracting program. We have 7 billion para ma-restart na po yung ating mga free ride, yung mga libreng sakay, lalo na po dyan sa mga high volume and high capacity routes katulad ng EDSA bus carousel po. Ina-expect po natin na within this month or in April po mag-launch na po ulit yung libreng sakay. Tapos yung mga shuttle service po natin na dedicated for healthcare workers, once payagan na po tayo ng COMELEC, tuloy-tuloy na po yan. Meron din po tayong pondo nga for active transportation. So ina-expect po natin na once mag-alert level 0, babalik po tayo dun sa dating mobility demand, no, ng ating mga kababayan. Kaya ini-ensure po natin na mas kakayanin po ng ating limited road space. Kaya yun po, aside from improving public transportation, we are gearing towards the active transportation as well. Siguro ba kung last words po, it's really more on yun po, if we can encourage more people to bike, to use public transportation instead of using private vehicles. And ayun po, patuloy pa rin po tayong mag-face mask kahit mababa po yung cases, and follow the 7 commandments po when using public transportation. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, sir. Now I understand your virtual background kung bakit naka-emphasize ang bike pala dyan. So thank you very much. What about on the side of the ILG, Atty. Flores?
Yes po, siguro po itong nakikita natin na sinasabi nating alert level 0, parang hindi naman po namin nakikitaan ng parang malaking pagbabago dito sa alert level 1 na ating ina-enjoy sa ngayon, no? Kasi higit sa lahat, kailangan pa rin po natin ng minimum public health standards. We have to observe the minimum public health standards. Yung ano po natin, na kailangan may face mask, and then observe social distancing, and then of course, maghugas po ng kamay. So kahit anong alert level po yan, kahit alert level 0, kailangan panatilihin po natin at i-observe itong mga to. Nang sa ganun ay hindi lang COVID-19 yung ating may iwasan, kundi other sickness na or sickness related to viruses or bacteria. So napakahalaga po ng pag-observe po natin dito sa ating minimum public health standards. And of course, yung bakuna po. Kaya po natin may enjoy itong alert level 1 sa ngayon dahil po mataas na yung level ng pagbabakuna ng ating mga kababayan. So sana po patuloy po tayo na tangkilikin ang pagbabakuna, lalo na po yung ating mga vulnerable sector, no, yung mga hindi pa po napakunahan, kailangan po nating pagpatuloy na suportahan ang vaccination program ng ating bansa. And ganun din, doon since election period na rin po, no, siguro para sa ating mga kababayan, mag-isip po tayo, no, na yung mga ihahalal po natin sa ating mga local government units, nakita naman po ninyo kung ano yung kanilang naging tugon doon sa pandemya sa inyong mga lugar. So sana po piliin natin ng maayos yung ating mga susunod na leaders natin. Yan lang po. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po. Napaka-importanting paalala. Deputy Director Salvador for DOQ.
Good evening po sa lahat ulit, and maraming salamat po sa pag-invite sa amin. Same with Sir Joemier and Ma'am Flores, the minimum health standard and importance ng vaccination. So ngayon po nag-ready tayo na ang target ng government is to increase yung daily arrival natin na 30 to 32,000 per day ang target natin. So kaya naman po natin yan, kaya lang syempre alam naman natin ang limitation ng airports natin na limited yung space. Yung process naman po ng One Health Pass, once registered kayo, it will just take 30 to 45 seconds per passenger once na nakapag-log sa One Health Pass. So kailangan lang po na ipaalala natin doon sa mga kababayan, kamag-anak natin na uuwi ng Pilipinas na once na nag-increase na po yung daily arrival natin, kailangan natin ng konting tiyaga. Dahil kahit mabilis po yung system ng One Health Pass, yung congestion po pag nakasunod-sunod ng flight, hindi po natin maiwasan. So maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much. And USec Morales po for Department of Tourism.
Hi, good evening and thank you Doc Jason at sa group. Katulad nung mga sinabi ng mga kasama ko from DOTR, DILT and KEDOCOBET, yun yung dalawa, no, na talagang the national government is pushing yung maintaining the minimum public health standard. So sa amin talaga yung mask should always be a minimum. Kahit siguro new normal na kami, no, baka kailangan hindi siya required pero siguro yung pinupush pa rin namin, so in-endorse pa rin namin na mag-wear pagkahit na mag-new normal na tayo. And also katulad nung mga nasabi rin nila, yung vaccination rate, no, siguro yung grupo nyo baka makatulong din sa pagpapaliwanag sa mga kababayan natin na pagandahan ng pagbabakuna, especially doon sa mga A2 and A3 natin na mga kababayan, and also sa mga kailangan na magpa-booster at wala pang booster shot, lalo na sa industriya ng turismo, ay makatulong din sa advokasya ng pagbabakuna. No? Marami natutuwa sa pagbubukas ng ating bansa sa mga foreign tourists and also sa mga pagluwag ng mga restrictions, and marami rin kami nakikitang mga kabuhayan na at mga nagtatrabaho na sumisigla na yung activity ng tourism activity sa mga iba't ibang lugar, and hopefully ma-meet na natin lahat, maging alert level 1 na. And rest assured naman the national government through the IATF, ginagawa naman namin yung plan, national action plan sa when the time na darating mag-move na tayo na sa new normal or sinasabi niyong alert level 0. Pero sa ngayon, hindi pa nating pinag-uusapan pa rin at pinagpaplanuhan yon. Pero hopefully within the year ay mangyari na yun.
Thank you po. Maraming salamat po ulit sa inyong lahat, no? And let me again extend our thanks, no? Sobrang dami po nag-message sa akin sa chat, sa direct message, even sa mga personal na-account ko sa social media na talagang super sulit daw ang ating webinar for tonight. Ang dami po talaga nilang natutunan, and of course, dahil po yan sa inyo. And if we can invite all of our distinguished speakers to stay for the presentation of the certificates. Dr. Taylor, can I ask for your assistance once more?
Can you hold?
Okay, so while waiting for Dr. Taylor, let me check po if meron pa po tayong mga unanswered concerns po sa chat. Dami po pala natin mga participants, no? From all over the country and even outside. Ayun na po, si Dr. Taylor. Dr. Taylor, go ahead.
Great, thank you very much. So to start off, we would like to present 5 certificates, and I will, as it reads, the Philippine College of Occupational Medicine, Quezon City Chapter, present this certificate of appreciation to First Secretary Bernadette Romulo-Puyat, Department of Tourism, for serving our resource speaker for our chapters 38th Kapihang Byahe na, a forum on travel regulations during COVID-19 pandemic, given on this 20th day of March 2022, Quezon City, Metro Manila, Philippines. Signed by yours truly, Jose Angelo Taylor, Chapter Secretary, and our Chapter President, Dr. Catherine Artaiz Carriaga, Chapter President. Also written for USec, Christopher Morales, of Department of Tourism, Deputy Director Roberto Manese Salvador for the Bureau of Quarantine, and Attorney Maria Rhodora Ramos-Flores, and last but not the least, Joemier Pontawe of the Department of Transportation. Thank you so much for being our speakers for tonight. Maraming salamat po. Stay safe and healthy. Back to you, Doc Jason.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. At again po, maraming salamat po ulit sa ating mga speakers. No? If you can only read all of the messages, no, that we are receiving, truly grateful po lahat ng ating mga participants. Salamat po ulit. Proceeding to the next part of our session, PCOM QC, no, would like to welcome our new members. Dr. Taylor, if I can ask for your, there's the list. Thank you very much. So the PCOM QC chapter is welcoming our newest members. So welcome po kay Dr. Maria Victoria V. Gochinko, Dr. Mariglen L. Texon, Dr. Neil A. Salarda, Dr. Norman V. Wage, Dr. Rosario C. Dalida, Dr. Daniel Victor Putanes, and Dr. Sarah Carmelita Grace Garland. Welcome po sa PCOM QC. At this point, I would like to thank our PCOM QCC virtual Kapihang team. Pinangungunahan po ng aming technical head, our very own PCOM QC Secretary, Dr. Jose Angelo Taylor. Thank you very much, Dr. Taylor. Also, this webinar will not be possible without our PCOM QCC CME team na award-winning na pinangungunahan ni Dr. Maria Cecilia Diana. Thank you very much as well. To formally end tonight's educational activity, ladies and gentlemen, our Chapter Vice President, Dr. Joemier M. Florante.
Thank you, Dr. Cabigon. A pleasant evening to everyone. Okay, we have a lot to thank for tonight's Kapihan. First, to our esteemed resource persons from the Department of Tourism, Department of Transportation, Department of the Interior and Local Government, and the Bureau of Quarantine. Your insights and inputs enlightened us that we can enjoy the different sights and sounds of our country while strictly observing the minimum public health standards to mitigate the spread of the coronavirus disease 2019. We would like also to thank our partners in occupational safety and health advocacy for always being there with us. You and our resource persons are the reasons why we have been cited by our college as one of the best chapters in promoting safety and health in the workplace. To the national and chapter officers and board of directors present in this virtual forum, to the past presidents of the college and of the chapter, and to the general membership of the college and of the chapter, our warmest appreciation. To the men and women behind this Kapihang, our hardships have again been acknowledged. As such, thank you for your continued work and support. Congratulations as well. Because of our endeavors, more physicians have aspired to practice occupational medicine and be one of our members. Allow me to thank and congratulate our new members. Welcome to the Quezon City chapter family. Tonight is also the premiere night of the last month's 37th Kapihang OH on our official YouTube channel. I am inviting everyone to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification button so you will be updated on our new videos. I am also inviting everyone to like and share our other social media accounts on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. If you have suggestions for our next topic or questions and concerns, please do not hesitate to send us an email at pcomquezoncitychapter@gmail.com. Again, thank you everyone, and congratulations to us all. Always remember that in Quezon City chapter of the Philippine College of Occupational Medicine, we value your safety and health. Hashtag PCOM-QCC cares. Good night everyone. Ingat.
Maraming salamat, Dr. Florante. At muli, maraming salamat sa lahat na dumalo sa ating 38th Kapihang OH. Again, kung nakatulong po sa inyo ang aming session at yung mga nakaraang sessions, keep in mind, libre lang po ang ating kapihan. Ang aming inihiling lang ay lahat po tayo ay mag-subscribe sa ating official YouTube channel. Mag-like po sa ating Facebook page at follow ang ating Twitter at Instagram accounts. As Dr. Florante mentioned, lahat po ng past sessions ay nasa ating YouTube. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification button. Again, libre lang po ulit ang aming request. Check out po all our channels. Search nyo lang po, PCOM-QC in all those social media platforms. And again, your support will move our chapter to even more award-winning projects that will benefit everyone. Muli, maraming salamat sa inyong pagdalo. Sa susunod na 39 Kapihang OH, ako po si Dr. Jason Jan Cabigon na parating nagpapaalala na sa Quezon City Chapter ang inyong kaligtasan at kalusugan ay mahalaga. Hashtag PCOM-QCC cares. Good night everyone and keep safe and healthy.